I'm going to show you a video I took of my top 15 places in the entire world to retire cheap in 2026. My name is Dan. I left the United States 18 years ago, and I've lived in 73 countries. I've spent a few $100,000 of my own money to put my feet on the ground in every single one of these places I will share with you today. This video has no AI video. Chung and I took all of the images we share with our camera in our hand. I will start at 15 and work my way up to number 1. Okay, number 15 in the world, Boquete, Panama, Retire Cheap Report. Boquete is a small town in the mountains of Panama with around 20,000 people living there. About 3,500 of those people are expats from all over the world. Because of its high elevation, the weather is so perfect that very few homes even have heating or air conditioning. Boquete is one of the most beautiful places in the world in terms of scenery. The lush green mountains surrounding the city have an unlimited supply of hiking trails. There's a lively art and live music scene, including the Boquete Jazz and Blues Festival and weekly arts and crafts and delicious food markets. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,500 per month to $2,500 per month, depending on whether you live more like a local or more like a typical expat. But the sky's the limit for deep pockets, and frugal expats may be able to live on less than $1,500 per month. To qualify for a visa, the retiree must demonstrate a pension of $1,000 per month plus $250 per dependent. But if you purchase residential property in Panama, the monthly pension requirement is only $750. Immigration law changes periodically, so for Panama and all of the following 14 places, check with a local immigration attorney for updates before you make any permanent decisions. If you are more interested in the Caribbean side of Panama, then check out the Bocas del Toro Panama Retire Cheap Report at a higher cost of living. Coming in at number 14th, Arequipa, Peru, Retire Cheap Report. Arequipa is a gorgeous colonial era city in the mountains of southern Peru. Walk along the cobblestone streets and you'll find a multitude of choices of foreign and domestic foods. Central Park is a gorgeous place to spend evenings as the sun goes down over the 500-year-old cathedral. It is a beautiful, energetic college town with one of the highest per capita incomes in Peru. In the middle of the day, you can walk around wearing only a single layer year-round, but carry a light jacket after 4 p.m. because of the elevation. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,400 per month to $2,400 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky is the limit for deep pockets, and a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $1,400 per month. To qualify for a visa, the retiree must have a pension or an equivalent of $1,000 per month. Consider our Cajamarca, Peru Retire Cheap Report if you're looking for a more traditional Peruvian experience in a smaller, more quaint, colonial era setting at a lower cost of living. Okay, coming in at 13th, Antigua, Guatemala. Antigua, Guatemala is the most well-preserved colonial era city in all of Central America. With 500 years of history, art, and architecture, along with an amazing array of foods to delight your senses, Antigua is one of the best places in the world for the integration of colonial culture, indigenous culture, and the international visitors. Because of Antigua's elevation, it remains relatively cool throughout the year. There are also many hiking trails around the city. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,500 per month to $2,500 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky is the limit for deep pockets, and a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $1,500 per month. To qualify for a visa, the retiree must have a pension or an equivalent of $1,250 per month with an additional $300 per month for dependents. If you're more of a mountain lake lover, check out our 𝗥𝗏𝗡𝗀, Guatemala retired chief report. At a slightly lower cost of living. The beautiful lake, a mile high in the sky, is surrounded by 7 villages of varying character that will provide a home for people of many different kinds of interests, including a hippie, spiritual, natural healing artist village, an expat party animal village, several indigenous cultural villages, and a large expat community village. Okay, coming in at number 12, Oaxaca City, which hosts the largest indigenous festival in the world, celebrating their native culture of music, costumes, dance, and food. Some of the most well-preserved ancient ruins in Mexico are nearby in Monte Alban and Mitla. Oaxaca is a perfect high elevation, so it's not too warm in the summer or too cold in the winter. The colonial era center of the city is one of the most beautiful and well-preserved of anywhere in the world. The Central Park Zocalo is a joy to experience day and night, with music, dance, beautiful foods and restaurants, and food carts. The cost of living for a typical expat ranges from about $1,500 per month to $2,500 a month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky's the limit for deep pockets, and a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $1,500 per month. To qualify for a visa, the retiree must have sustainable pension or an equivalent of $4,000 US per month, or prove $70,000 in savings or investments. Some consulates set higher or lower incomes or investment numbers. Consider Puerto Morelos, Mexico retired chief report if you are more of a beach person with a slightly higher cost of living. Okay, coming in at number 11, 𝗏𝗏, Philippines, retired chief report. We have been on the lookout for the best safe beach town in the Philippines. A beach town with just enough expats to create a soft landing, but without white sand beaches that cause a parade of arriving expats and higher prices. Well, that place is 𝗏𝗏 in the Philippines. There's a friendly small community of expats who've lived in the area to help you get acquainted. Plus, the locals are super friendly and willing to teach you about customs, traditions, and help you integrate and live affordably. Most expats can't. The cost of living for typical expat ranges from about $1,000 per month to $2,200 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky is the limit for deep pockets, and a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $1,000 per month. You can extend your tourist visa up to 36 months without applying for a retirement visa. After 36 months, you just do a visa run and start the whole process over again. For that reason, very few expats in the Philippines bother to get a retirement visa. If you're looking for the comprehensive expat experience, consider 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏 in the Philippines, retired chief report with slightly higher prices. After I finish sharing the top 15 places, I will share the 3 countries that were pushed out of the top 15 this year. Plus, I will share a free video showing you all of the resources we have to help you achieve a soft landing overseas. Okay, coming in at number 10, Baguio City, Philippines, retired chief report. One of the first things you'll notice about Baguio is that it's never too hot or too cold here. It's a mile high, so it has cooler highland temperatures. The next thing you'll notice is the green and beautiful central area of Baguio. There's a very large central park full of manicured grass and picnic tables with a lake full of paddle boats you can enjoy with your family and friends. It also has one of the most creative cities in the Philippines, with college students dressing up in Japanese anime costumes and drawing chalk characters on Session Road on Sundays. Plus, if you enjoy a hilly terrain, Baguio is one of the most walkable cities. You won't need a car. The cost of living for typical expat ranges from about $1,400 per month to $2,200 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky is the limit for deep pockets, and a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $1,300 per month. The Philippines allows visa extensions for up to 36 months before requiring a visa run. If you like the cooler weather but would like to be in a smaller town only an hour from the best shopping in the Philippines, check out the Tagaytay Philippines Retired Chief Report. Okay, coming in at number 9, Boracay Island is one of the most gorgeous white sand beach islands in the world. Boracay stands above other white sand beach destinations in the Philippines because it offers a wide selection of excellent international restaurants within walking distance of anywhere on the island. Other white sand beaches in the Philippines like El Nido, 𝗪 or Portugal are typically in remote locations, which means limited international restaurant choices. Boracay also offers a wide range of nightlife entertainment, all within walking distance. And Boracay would easily make it into our top 5 destinations if it weren't so small and full of tourists. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $2,000 to $3,000 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky's the limit for deep pockets, and a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $1,800 per month. The Philippines allows visa extensions for up to 36 months before requiring a visa run. If you like a cheaper, less touristy white sand beach accessible by a short ferry ride to Luzon, consider Portugal, Philippines Retired Cheap Report. Okay, coming in number 8, Porto, Portugal Retired Cheap Report. Portugal has a beautiful landscape and a romantic yet safe feeling to it. It's like living in a storybook. The central area of Porto is highly walkable. Porto feels like you're walking through a living museum with single-lane cobblestone pre-vehicle streets. There are beaches, wine tours, a symphony, many food choices, hiking, biking, great day trips, weekend getaways, sports stadiums, sailing, water sports, cruising, parks, nature. Porto has an old world charm that you usually only find in more expensive cities. You'll need to take the Porto Metro underground a little outside the city center to find cheaper rents. But isn't it nice to know that you won't need to buy a car? The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $2,000 to $3,200 per month, depending on whether you live more local or like a typical expat. But the sky is the limit for deep pockets, but a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $2,000 per month. The D7 visa requires proving a passive income amount not officially published, but sources report about $1,000 per month for the applicant, $500 per month for a spouse, and $350 per month per dependent. Consider reviewing our Coimbra, Portugal Retired Cheap Report if you prefer a smaller, less expensive, quaint college town. Okay, coming in 7th, Siem Reap is next door to Angkor Wat, the largest temple complex in the world, spanning 402 acres with 72 deserted temples to visit. That makes Siem Reap feel peaceful and spiritual. Siem Reap also has a fun, dynamic mix of East meets West lifestyle. Siem Reap has a large assortment of restaurants, domestic, international, a beautiful walkway on the riverfront, many arts and crafts, a nearby lake, and a fairly diverse nightlife for a town this size. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,000 to $2,000 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky is the limit for deep pockets, and a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $900 per month. There's no official minimum pension requirement for the 1-year renewable visa, and many expats report obtaining the 1-year renewable visa with very little documentation and a $300 visa fee. If you enjoy Cambodia but would prefer a quieter town with fewer expats, check out the smaller town in the Battambang, Cambodia Retired Cheap Report. If you would prefer to be in a slightly more expensive capital city, check out the Phnom Penh, Cambodia Retired Cheap Report. Okay, coming in at number 6, Tirana, Albania Retired Cheap Report. I've traveled all over Eastern Europe, from Estonia down through Greece, and Albania is the country that really sticks out in my mind for living an easy, affordable life. There's a nice combination of old and new buildings in the city, with gorgeous tree-lined streets and beautiful parks, along with great, affordable, international and local restaurants. We walked everywhere and didn't even need a car. Americans can stay for 1 year upon entry without applying for a visa. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,200 to $2,200 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky's the limit for deep pockets, and frugal expats may be able to live on less than $1,200 per month. Retiree visa applicants must supply a lease contract in Albania, proof of pension from their home country of about $1,350 per month, or buy residential real estate in Albania. If you enjoy Albania but would prefer a beach town with a similar cost of living, check out Saranda, Albania Retire Cheap Report. Okay, time for the top 5 best places in the entire world to retire early for cheap in 2026. Coming in at number 5, Bangkok, Thailand, Retire Cheap Report. Bangkok is one of the most fascinating cities in the world, even before you adjust for its low cost of living. The food choices are unmatched with the integration of East and meets West. It has one of the most modern and clean transportation systems in the world, so you will not have to waste your money on a car. The Grab taxis are so cheap, you can get your groceries home for just a little more than public transportation. Riding the water taxis from Koh San Road to the King Taksin Bridge while stopping at the temples, the flower market, and the King's Palace is probably the most interesting cultural experience you'll find anywhere in the world. Plus, you're just a $50 flight to some of the best white sand beaches in the world. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,300 to $2,200 per month, depending on whether you live more local or like a typical expat. But the sky is the limit for deep pockets, and frugal expats may be able to live on less than $1,300 per month. The retirement visa requires proving $2,000 per month or depositing about $25,000 US into a Thai bank account. But if you prefer a smaller mountain town with a lower cost of living, check out our Chiang Mai, Thailand Retire Cheap Report. Thailand has lost some of its appeal because it has started taxing any foreign money brought into the country by expats who spend 180 days or more per year in Thailand. Okay, coming in at number 4, Jomtien, Thailand is more relaxed, less noisy beach town with slightly cheaper food than Pattaya. Plus, you're only a 10 baht bus ride from Pattaya if you get in the mood for crazy. Thailand is one of the easiest countries in the world for expats to adjust to overseas living. It has an easy, cheap retirement visa, it has amazing cheap healthcare, and it has many possible apartments to rent for reasonable prices ranging from very basic to extravagant. Jomtien has food from all over the world along with delicious local Thai food. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,200 to $2,200 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky is the limit for the deep pockets, and frugal expats may be able to live on less than $1,200 per month. The retirement visa requires proving $2,000 per month or $25,000 US into a Thai bank. If Jomtien is not your cup of tea, try going to the other side of the Gulf of Mexico and check out the Hua Hin, Thailand Retire Cheap Report. Okay, coming in at 3rd place, Koh Samui, Thailand Retire Cheap Report. You may have had the impression that the island of Koh Samui was only a playground for the rich and famous looking for expensive white sand beach island vacations. But on our most recent visit to Koh Samui, we found perfectly respectable places to stay in safe neighborhoods where locals live for relatively cheap. We also found local markets and local family-owned restaurants with absolutely delicious foods that would not break the bank. So after 18 years of coming to Thailand, I now know that I could stay on a budget in one of the most beautiful places in the world. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,500 to $2,500 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky's the limit for deep pockets, and a frugal expat may be able to live on less than $1,500 per month. The Thai retirement visa requires showing $2,000 per month income or placing 25,000 US in a Thai bank. If you're looking for a cheaper hippie island vibe, check out the 20-minute ferry ride over to Koh Phangan, Thailand Retire Cheap Report. Okay, coming in to second place in the entire world, Da Nang, Vietnam Retire Cheap Report. Da Nang is now my second favorite place to retire cheap in paradise for pennies. 𝗙𝐿 and I both fell in love with a little community called Ô Thang, about 15 minutes south of Da Nang on the beach. I would love to live here. Everything you need, like restaurants, expensive and cheap, foreign and domestic, wet markets, and a gorgeous beach would be extremely walkable. We didn't even rent a scooter. If we ate all 3 meals per day in the local restaurants, we could easily stay under $5 per day per person. There was even a great gym just a few blocks from our house for $20 a month, no contract. The cost of living for expats ranges from about $1,000 to $2,000 per month, depending on whether you live more locally or like a typical expat. But the sky's the limit for deep pockets. And frugal expats may be able to live on less than $1,000 per month. There's no retirement visa, so expats must do a visa run every 90 days. Some people say Vietnam will offer a retirement visa someday, but I'll believe it when I see it. The good news is that Vietnam is not taxing you as a resident, unlike Thailand. Okay, time for number 1 place in the world. Nha Trang, Vietnam Retire Cheap Report. Nha Trang is the most cosmopolitan city in Vietnam if you consider international food choices, clean parks and beaches, neighborhoods that still feel like Vietnam despite international tourism, and a less visible pollution in the air. It is a city on the ocean. It doesn't have the breadth of historical culture you'll see in places like Hanoi or Hue, but it makes up for that with modern cultural amenities that cultural explorers expect. You will read that some people do not like Nha Trang because it has a large tourist industry near the beach, but I wouldn't live in the tourist areas. I found a beautiful neighborhood that I showcase in my Retire Cheap report. What surprised me the most about Nha Trang was how cheap it was to live there once you get to know where the locals shop and eat. The cost of living for typical expats ranges from about $1,000 to $2,000 per month, depending on whether you live more local or like a typical expat. But the sky's the limit for deep pockets, and frugal expats may be able to live on less than $1,000 per month. There's no retirement visa, so expats do a visa run to a nearby country every 90 days. But Vietnam is not taxing you as a resident like they do in Thailand. Okay, check out 𝗏 Vietnam Retire Cheap Report if you would prefer a hill station with cooler year-round weather. Now I'll explain 3 countries that dropped out of the top 15. Then I'll give you a free video that explains all the resources we have to help you achieve a soft landing overseas. Malaysia is still one of my favorite places in the world with a reasonable cost of living, but the financial requirements for a retirement visa are no longer feasible for the overwhelming majority of people. Okay, next, 𝗪𝗏, Bali, Indonesia, still one of my favorite places in the world, but the roads are so congested now, it would likely take hours to get to the hospital. That presents an unnecessary risk for all but the healthiest expats. Okay, Ecuador was historically safe, but has experienced an increase in crime over the last few years. That said, many expats living in my favorite town in Ecuador called Cuenca report feeling relatively safe compared to other parts of the country. Okay, the free video explaining all the resources we have to help you achieve a soft landing overseas is at this QR code. A video explaining why some people need more money to retire overseas is over here. And a free ebook explaining everything I did before moving overseas is right here.